Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Mind of a Genius. And today, I'm excited to have with me here a tech genius, Kobby Spiky. And we're going to be talking all things tech in Ghana and around the world. And I'm very, very excited. We do have also some awesome conversations that we'll be dabbling into. And so I think we're pretty much like similar in personalities, right? As far as just things he's interested in and things that I've personally dabbled in. So very excited. Kobby, thank you so much for taking time to be here with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Are you excited? Are you ready?
Always 100.
Let's do it. All right. So, Kobby, prior to this, we were having a few conversations, and you were kind of telling me about your background. Can you tell us a little bit about who Kobby Spiky is?
Well, I'm a techie. Love all things tech. I think if ever I go bankrupt, tech chop all my money. So first love tech, second love cars, and then music. See, I've not known how to arrange them, whether it's tech, music, cars, or tech, cars, music. But yeah, those tech always takes the lead. Because with tech, I'm able to dabble in music, and with tech, I'm able to mess around with cars. And so yeah, tech, music, cars. Yeah, let's do tech, music, cars.
Did you always have that interest growing up?
Yeah, growing up, toy cars were my favorite toys.
Okay.
I knew cars by their brand names from when I was very young.
Wow.
Because my dad bought me a big set of die-cast metal Hot Wheels collection.
Oh, so you be DB?
Oh, no. Far from that. Yeah. I mean, there was that. And then I grew up with my mom and her brother.
Okay.
And my mom's brother, who's my uncle, he loves cars as well. And so that influence obviously would rub off on me. We had car magazine for days, Top Gear, Autocar, all these things were around. And my dad's house were PC magazines around. So naturally, you see where the influence came from.
Yeah.
And then music, I was born into a very music-loving family. Like I mentioned, my uncle, he was young. My mom's their last born on their side. So he loves music. Connects wires and puts his woofer or his speaker in the cupboard to give more bass, that kind of thing. And I would always also be playing around with his music when he's not around with stuff. So yeah, I fell in love with music very early. Got a Walkman and started recording.
You're giving your age away.
Yeah. I'm the pencil cassette era guy. So yeah, played with that, would record music from DJ Black and Open House Party on Joy FM. Did all of that. So you sort of get the drift.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you grew up with kind of these passions.
Yes.
What did you go to school to study? Was it in alignment with your passions?
So very, 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 very off track when it came to what I studied.
Oh.
Because primary school, my passion was very evident there. I think primary school also contributed to my love for music.
Okay.
Because we had a very great music teacher, Mr. Bosom Che. Yeah, Mr. Bosom Che. He was our music teacher at Northridge Lyceum, and he made us, he taught us a lot. And that foundation really had me wanting to learn more. So even though I didn't know how to play any instruments, I still really loved music. And then I also loved computers.
Okay.
And going to the computer lab was my favorite part of the day. And my best friend and I, Mohammed Sidawi, we would compete for who would be first and who would be second. And when it comes to computer, all the other subjects we really couldn't care.
Oh wow!
This was all we cared about.
Yep.
So we really focused on those two and committed. We even started a computer company, our own company, in primary school where we're selling video games on diskettes. So we would go to Amari Computers and go and buy diskettes.
Wow.
And then we would copy games onto it and we'd come and sell them to our mates who would go and copy them onto their computers and bring us our diskettes back. So then we would resell it to somebody else. And
an entrepreneur from birth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that started really early. I mean, I used to sell candy and stuff to the girls. I knew the girls like candy. So spent all my school money, lunch money on candy.
Wow.
And go sell it in school. And I always made money until I was banned from selling because people were throwing gum in people's hair and stuff. So yeah, I've always liked money.
Wow. And it's crazy because I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday, and he, I was on another someone's podcast, and he was asking me, how I got into entrepreneurship, right? And it's funny you mentioned starting an IT company, because I also started an IT company, but way later, right, in tech.
Right.
So it's really cool that you did it like way earlier. I don't know how you even had that idea. So I can see why you're a tech genius, right? That's cool. So you went to St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, so from there I went to Aquinas, and one of my friends from there and I also once again started trading in tech stuff. So games usually, yeah, and then magazines, and pretty much I was the go-to guy for anything you wanted, so if you wanted something, you'd just come see me and I would make it happen because I knew people, and I knew where to get stuff. And so now I think that's been my MO. Anyone wants the best deals when it comes to gadgets and stuff, they hit me up and I'll definitely get them a good deal.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Okay, now I have my tech plug. I was going to say, I wish you had gone to a better high school like St. Augustine's College. But,
high school, I don't think I really went to high school. I just passed through, I don't even remember half the things that I did because I was always doing business.
That's what happens when you don't go to a good high school.
My boys will get you.
I'm waiting for them. They should come. No, I'm a proud Apsu, and everywhere I go, I talk about it.
I'm glad.
So that's good. So after that, you went to go, what did you go study after St. Thomas? Journalism.
Yeah.
A complete 180. What made you go that far?
My mother. I mean, she's paying the fees. She says. So here's the thing. I did too many things when I was young. Like I don't know if anybody remembers Hobby Time. I don't think anybody here would remember it because that's like millennial stuff. Still showing my age. But yeah, I had another movement. I call it a movement, but it was sort of like what they would now call an NGO.
Okay.
We used to call it This Is Us. And so it was youth trying to empower young people. I had a cousin who became a drug addict. And so I really wanted to help the youth not get into, bad habits and stuff. Yeah. Even though I was notorious for being a rebel, I wanted people to know that you can be rebellious but not go down, a destructive path.
Yep.
And I realized I never took advice from people who like to look so holy. Wearing a suit, wearing a shirt and trousers all tucked in. I took advice from people who were like me. And so with my hair, and I always had lines in my hair, I always looked like rebellious.
Yeah.
And so when I talked to young people, they'd listen because he's one of us. And so I started This Is Us, and we had sort of like a radio segment on Radio Ghana at the time, GAR. And so my mom...
Very long time ago.
Very long time ago, yeah. I was young. I was young. Talking about in my I was 11, 12, yeah. And then so it was me and my friend Sefakoya. We started This Is Us. And then my mom's friends used to say, oh, your son speaks so well and he likes to read and he writes. And I'm a very good writer as well.
Okay.
Like I write stories. And so then the whole thing ended up being he can write, he can speak, he loves to read. Journalism. But then this is a guy whose best friend was a screwdriver. Because when you come to my house, everything I would open. Unless it doesn't have screws, then I'm prying it open by force because I want to see how it works.
Yes.
And that part of my mind, that tinkering part of mine, overshadowed everything. So even though I loved to read and write, I would rather open stuff than read and write. Did you get it?
Yeah.
But when I found myself bored and my brain begins to wander, then I would write. And that sort of also was what led me to GIJ, and then ended up in GIJ, hated it.
I was about to ask, how did you enjoy it?
Oh, am I permitted to tell a short story?
Go ahead. Absolutely.
This is how I ended up in GIJ. So going to do GIJ, I actually had to go for an interview. Yes. And they didn't have to know whether you qualify to be a student there.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well, this was a time when I was going, I don't know if it still holds. And so I was told that my interview date was such date and I was supposed to go. And I said, okay, cool. This is me hating every minute of it, but I went. And with my baggy jeans, somebody shared a picture with me recently and I almost lost my mind. baggy jeans, a baggy shirt, open with my white t-shirt, my satchel on my side, my Harry Potter, my big ass headphones. And I get into where I got out to have the interview and everybody's wearing a suit. I'm like, I think I'm in the wrong place. So I asked somebody, is this where they're doing the interview? And say yes. And everybody's looking at me like, who is this
Are you in
guy?
the right building?
You know, and everybody's holding a newspaper and they're discussing who's the minister of this, who's the MP of here. The only people I know is the president and the vice president. I don't know anybody else. At which point I knew these guys are going to throw me out because this guy is just lost. So everybody goes in, you know, I continue to listen to my music and read my Harry Potter till it was my turn. Mind you, I had a crazy hairstyle.
Yeah.
2 lines. It was always there. And I don't put those lines again. But I walked in and everybody looks at me aghast. Like, who are you? Did you not see your mates
colleagues
coming in here? And so I stand there and they asked me, sit down. And I sat. And they said, are you here for the interview? I said, yeah. And they looked at my file and they looked at everything. Said, did your mother see you before coming?
They really asked that?
I would never forget.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I didn't look like I was coming for that interview, you know, looking at how people were dressed. And I was just the wild card in the whole thing. And mind you, the conversation was unrelated to the whole thing. Like, they just started asking me personal questions now, like, does your mom know you're here? I'm like, yes. Does your dad know? I said, no. Why? Like, if my dad knew, I wouldn't be here. Because my dad didn't want me to study journalism. And he said, why? And I was like, because my dad thinks that, you know, anybody could learn to be a journalist. So you could stay in a room and just read a couple of books and become a journalist. I think that offended them.
I am sure.
Yeah, that's unfortunately one of my bad traits. I just say things.
You are very honest.
I'm just very blunt. I don't see why I should hide things.
Yeah.
And so when I said that, then the whole conversation, you know,
took a turn.
Took a turn into trying to understand why I'm here then. I said, well, my mother, because me, I don't even want to be here. And, you know, one of them knew my mom.
Okay.
And so they read my file and they're like, but you've done all these things, so this could actually be a good path for you. So what do you want to do? And I said, I wanted to study tech and stuff. And somebody was like, yeah, but you can study this and then add the tech. I said, no, I want to do the tech and then add other things.
That's crazy.
You know, so that's my mom's
mentality negotiating
as well.
with you.
You know, my mom thinks that tech was an add-on to anything else. But I thought tech was my foundation and I could add other things. Yes. So that's the argument we used to have at home. But eventually, I got home and my mom said I'd gone to disgrace her because these were her friends. You know, and they're like, anyway, they asked me about my lines and I explained to them that, you know, I go around talking to young people and I want to be relatable. Yeah. So it makes no sense to come there looking holier than thou because I know where I was when I was in their shoes and how that wouldn't apply. So pretty much, that's what it is. And I got in. I didn't want to. I was hoping they'd say no, but then...
after the conversation, did you have a feeling that you were going to get in?
Oh, no. I thought I wasn't going to get. My mom was like, you know, you've gotten what you wanted. You didn't want to get in, so you went there and embarrassed me.
That's crazy.
And so I was there happy. Ha, ha, ha. They're not going to call me. And then they called. I'm like, are these people crazy? I look like...
I always say that sometimes getting out of the norm or, breaking the mode of what something is supposed to be can actually be a blessing.
Indeed.
Because people want to see change. People want to see, it's like a breath of fresh air, like something that outside the norm. And I think that's what you presented to them. They were very excited to see it. Maybe not excited about a lot of the things you said, but they were probably excited to see that not everyone was coming in dressed in suit and, they probably got bored of it. It was uniformity.
Maybe.
That's insane. That's crazy. So, fast forward in JIJ, you didn't enjoy it. You just, kept on studying, I guess.
Yeah. So I still kept doing my tech stuff, even though I was still studying the journalist stuff. Really wasn't the straight A student.
Okay.
Probably failed too many subjects. But, it did. I believe everything happens for a reason. Yeah. Right? Because that led me into multimedia, which is Joy FM, and eventually shot me to where I am now. because I started my national service at Joy FM as a journalist, supposedly an online journalist. And yeah, things just started to change from there because I had the exposure now. I did another story loading. So when I got to Joy FM as an online journalist, I was sent to go and do my first story at Alisa Hotel.
Okay.
Never forget that story. They were about to announce the transition from digital broadcast, analog to digital broadcast.
Okay.
And I was there analyzing the technicalities of everything when I was supposed to be reporting. So I finished, I got back, and then the editor, Mr. Isaac Yeboah, top guy, he asked me, so what did they say? And I started narrating. I'm like, this is what they're saying. But then I'm considering how this is going to impact people, because why do we need to transition this fast? We need set-top boxes.
Yeah.
How many people are going to get set-top boxes? Have we made provision for suppliers for those things? He was like, yes, but what did they say there? He's like, I'm not asking your opinion.
Yeah.
I'm asking what they said there.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that one doesn't matter. My problem is, he's like, your problem doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What matters is what they said. And I couldn't remember a thing they said. I didn't even remember who was there.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if I should say this, but they gave me an envelope.
Okay.
What's journalists call Solly? So I didn't even know what it was. So I gave it to my boss. I'm like, and they gave me this envelope. He was like, did you open it? I'm like, nope. Maybe there's more information there. And then he opened it. It's like money. He's like, here, that's your TNT for going. I'm like, oh, that's what that was. I should have taken two.
Oh my
like, it was
God.
one for each person. But then, yeah. So he realized, listen, this guy, maybe he's not cut out for reporting.
Yeah.
Let me look for something else for him to do. So he gave me a job. Now, every day I was supposed to type stories in a newspaper online. So people who are in the diaspora who don't have access to the newspaper can read them online.
Yeah.
Now, this was a tough task because I have to read and type and read and type. And anyone who knows me knows I get bored very easily.
Yeah.
I have the attention span of a housefly. Like, I quickly just get distracted. And so I had to find a way to make that job easy, because the whole day reading newspapers and typing, I hate news.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I looked around, found a solution, which was, okay, I'm going to scan these newspapers, and then at least I can have them on the screen, and then I can type them faster. And then something occurred to me. Maybe I could actually extract the text. Now, this is 2004. OCR software wasn't really a thing then. But yeah, I found a way to extract the text from the newspaper using the scanner without having to actually type it.
Wow.
And so the job that would usually take someone a whole day was now taking me just about 15 minutes to complete. And then I'd play games the whole day.
I like
And
that.
one day I got caught because I was playing games. My boss was like, are you done? I'm like, oh, I'm done, long time. It's like, so what next? I'm like, yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, just waiting for the next day.
The
Yeah.
next day. Then they found me another job, which was to listen to every show on Joy FM, cut out the ads, and then upload it as a podcast or audio on demand. Yeah. See, I said A. When they narrated the whole thing, I was like, oh my goodness. I have to listen to the morning show. It's a 3-hour show. I don't care about politics.
Yeah.
I don't care about current affairs. All I care about is tech, music, cars. And I have to listen to politicians talk. I have to listen to Ghanaians rant.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, the software they were using at the time was also a very, very, very simple, basic software.
Yeah.
All it did was you listen, and then when you got to where the ad was, you click mark in, because you can't see the waveform, so you can't forward. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to listen when it gets
So it
to
kind
where
of cuts
then you click
those
on mark
parts.
in, mark out. This is pretty much like back then when they were doing tapes.
Yes.
So you listen, you forward, then you put a paper to mark where it
Yes.
was. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. But I'm a sound engineer, and so I knew how to edit sound. But then that will still be work, because I have to load it into FL or Audition. At the time, it was Cool Edit, and then you see the waveform. But then again, I'm going to have to do work, and that's repetitive. So I took a radio, plugged a cable line out, plugged it into the line in of the computer, and then wrote a script that would pretty much just start a recording when the show starts, pause when an ad plays, because I knew every single time the ads would come in and how long the ad brackets were. And so when the ad ends, it will just resume the recording.
How does it recognize if it's an ad?
Oh, it doesn't. It's a time. So I was working with the time.
Okay.
Yes. So all I would do when I came back is look at the waveform. Okay, over here, it bled in. You know, sometimes it will start later.
Yes.
A little later, or
Yes.
sometimes a little earlier. So you'd see the bleeding.
Okay.
So when I
That
see that the
makes sense now.
waveform has
Yeah.
changed, I know, oh yeah, there's an ad here. So just move the marker just a little bit. So I just move a little bit and fine. We're good. And then over time, that became too easy.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't editing. I was just coming to move markers, and then just export, upload, move markers, export, upload. So once again, by the end of the day, I'm done. Like half the day is even too long. I'd have been done. And then they said, okay, we have to find another job for you. Because
So you were basically punished for being efficient.
yeah, I love efficiency. And well, I think all these things contributed because they made me, think outside the box and start to look for more solutions. So I did a lot more stuff. Started bigger photo galleries because photo editing was so inefficient.
Yeah.
We're using Macromedia Fireworks. Anybody who's used Macromedia Fireworks from the early 2000s knows that you see how easy it is to crop images?
Yeah.
With Fireworks, you drop the image, you create the frame. So you choose the dimensions of where you want the image to be. And then you load the image. Then you move the image into the frame and then you crop it. That's how it works. You have to do that manually so if you went out to an event, so let's say Arnak 40, and there was 1,000 images. First, you have to choose the images, sort them, create the frame, because this was when
That's
internet
giving me a
wasn't
headache already.
Yeah. Internet wasn't so fast. So you had to reduce the resolution to maybe about 1280 by 720,
Wow.
as small as possible so it loads faster. And then do this thing that I told you to crop every single image. And then put the watermark on it. Yes, work. So maximum you do about 50 images, you're tired. But there has to be a way.
That's insane.
For me, so find another software, SAT, batch edit, load the pictures, you can even batch edit, increase exposure, highlights, shadows, do all that. And because you're using the same camera, one preset for all the images pretty much just fixes everything. And then
Was it still quality though?
oh yeah. I mean, nobody complained about my John Lyons photo gallery. People were actually going there.
Really?
And I was responsible for a lot of those pictures. So very proud of myself.
Wow.
And then the watermark, automatically slapping that all over, teaching everybody to do it so I don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
And that took our photos from just 50 to 100 to sometimes even 500 because you have loads of pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can basically just be, again, efficient.
Yeah.
Do you think it's right for employers to punish people for being efficient as far as just giving them more work like you were made to do?
I think that, the younger me would have said, no, let people be efficient. But I think it's good that they did that to me because then it helped me find more solutions, right? Because if I had someone on my team who was efficient, I'd find more problems for them to solve. Because just like that quote that they say, Bill Gates said that he'd always hire the lazy man to do the job because
Oh
the
yeah,
fastest
you find
way
yeah.
to do it.
Agreed.
That's what I really think employers should look for. People who look for the most efficient ways to do things. It's not that they're lazy, but it means that they're just not your regular, employees, and they think radically. And you need radical thinkers. You need every kind of person. You need the robotic people. You need the radical thinkers. And you need those who follow orders. When you say sit, they sit. You need all kinds of people. But definitely, you need to really appreciate the radical ones.
That's incredible. Okay, so fast forward into your job and what you currently do. How do you think that shift or all the experiences you've had kind of led to where you're at right now? Because right now, you're a top dog, man.
Am I?
I think you are. So how has those experiences shaped like what you do right now?
Well, it really has. Like, I really appreciate every single experience I went through because it's one thing to know stuff and it's another to actually be doing it and be inside the whole event, if I should put it that way. Like, being involved in it being your story helps you to learn. I've not exactly been a very good student in the sense that I've always sucked at school. Much surprising to a lot of people, but I can't learn. Like I can't survive in a classroom.
Yeah.
You teach me. I remember one time, boy, I have stories.
I love stories.
In Aquinas, we had a group study,
Mhm.
and we used to come up with these mnemonics and stuff so we can remember something. And I came up with one, and everybody was so glad. Like, yo, this made it so easy for us. We went in there, and that question came, and everybody was like giving me thumbs up, and I was smiling, but I wasn't happy. I couldn't remember Jack.
Really?
Bro,
What?
everything was gone. Like,
After you gave them the basically a pop.
I forgot everything. Sitting down there, I was like, what on earth was I thinking? Was it PH? No, TQ.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Sucked. Totally.
With that in mind, how do you think the educational system in Ghana does well towards people like you who might not necessarily be very excited about the way that the education is run?
It took me to realize that we have a huge problem in our educational system because not everybody learns the same way, right? I learned from experience.
Yeah.
And so, which is why most of the things that I know today is because I actually put myself in there to do it. And so I have deadlines. I'm supposed to do this. And so I'm learning it on my own.
Yep.
I'm acquiring. I'm more of a practical learner than a theoretical learner. I can't remember formulas or anything. I can't remember. I produce music, but I don't remember music theory, right? And so I play by ear. And there are a lot of people like me.
Yeah.
And the educational system needs to acknowledge that not everyone can remember the definition of photosynthesis. But tell them, ask them.
I don't remember.
And I think that's our problem with our educational system. It's a lot of chew and pour.
Yeah.
So we would cram all that stuff into our head. You see boys walking around. It's a process whereby leaves make food for the plant.
Exactly.
Process whereby,
when will you ever use that?
but they don't really even understand how it applies.
Yes.
If you understand how it applies, you understand the application of that thing that you just learned, it's easy. Then when someone asks you what is photosynthesis, you look at the plant and you say, okay, you see the leaves, that's how the plant itself gets its food, because human beings, and then you see some of us, that's how we learn. We need to cut things open. See, this wire connects from here to here. Don't draw. People in tech were writing code on pieces of paper.
Oh yeah.
How are you compiling
I
that?
remember. Yes.
And I understand. They'll tell you hard training, easy battle. Okay. But you're competing with people who at a point in time have actually done this and taken it a step further. Like my first experience with a computer, Mac 2, it was in German. My dad brought a Mac 2 home. It was in German. There was nothing English. And I had to use it. Not that he told me that I had to use it, but I wanted to play games. And I had to find a way to get the games. And I found out Spiel means games in German just because I was experimenting.
Yeah.
It's not now that I'm going to take German dictionary
and look up all the words.
By which time the computer has even become outdated. So people like me exist. And so the educational system should not punish people who learn by practice. People like me would end up in a technical school. I love technical schools because it's handy.
Yes.
I hate all this theory stuff. Let us get to the ground. Let's do something. By now, all these polytechnics and stuff should be building cars.
Yes. I agree.
Even me that doesn't have this thing, I go and buy a beat down car and I get my mechanics to work with me and we build a car. So how much more technical school? And that's how people learn.
Yes.
That's how I learned about cars. Break it, fix it. That's how I learned how to program. Break it, fix it. Computers, break it, fix it.
And remember I told you I studied computer science and tech, right? I hated it.
So you wrote code on paper?
Yes, exactly. And I didn't, I was reading C++ in a book. And I didn't understand why that needed, I didn't even understand the fundamentals of tech. From that, right? Studying, and I went to one whole year and I was getting B's and C's, right? In exams. And I just knew I wasn't that A student in that class. But I think the reason is because I didn't enjoy having to learn all the theory aspect of it. And so like you said, I strongly believe people need to do things that they find their strength in. But I think the struggle comes from maybe our parents, Could it be? Because I feel like if we are made self-aware or we understand or our parents are a little bit self-aware, they will be honest and know, okay, this is what this individual likes. This is a pathway that will make sense, right?
Yeah.
Because we're brought up to listen to our parents.
Absolutely.
So anything they say, we would want to listen to them, right? I was told to be a doctor, right? I hate blood. So I'm like, like why?
Yeah.
That's a major issue.
They think that I was the first person to go and look for Band-Aid, you know, when someone gets hurt.
Yeah.
It's just like you. I hated the sight of blood. Oh, Banobeya doctor, look at how he's always
Share.
taking care of people. I don't want to see blood. I tell you want to be a doctor.
You were just being a nice person. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to dive into a little bit of, you mentioned music, right? So you mentioned how you love music. You're also a producer.
Yeah, of sorts.
You double into it here and
dabble,
there. So
I dabble.
you're a genius small, right? So when it comes to music, where did that love come from, and what do you do with it right now, currently?
So that love, music has always been my getaway from everything, you know. Every human being has past traumas. You know,
Yes.
growing up, there's always something that's happened to you that you find yourself trying to escape from. And music was what I used to always communicate. I mean, 50 Cent had a song, Nobody Likes Me. And I used to play that song on full blast.
Really?
When my mom pisses me off.
What?
I mean, you know, it's a kid thing. Kids who run away from
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
This was my
Your
steez.
way to get away from it. Yeah.
When my mom was worried that I was going to become a drug addict, I started playing reggae in the house so she would think I'm smoking weed. You know, yeah? It was just, I mean,
That's
I'm
such a
rebel.
Ghanaian thing.
I'm rebellious. So anything that I know you hate, I will do
You
it
do more of
just
it.
to, piss
Spicy.
you off.
That's
But
insane.
yeah, so music, and one thing I've always wanted to create.
Okay.
I mean, I love art, all types of art, paintings. My dad used to always take us to exhibitions because he was a lover of art as well. But if you ask me to draw Kofi Salanga, I can't do it. Like, I can't even draw a heart. So say I met the girl of my dreams and I was supposed to draw a heart. She'll break up with me that day because I'll probably draw a stone. Like, that's how bad I am when it comes to art. But I love it. And I had to find a way to express myself. So if I can't draw, let me find a way to express myself. And my dad brought this software called EJ when I was younger. And EJ had some loops and, progressions and stuff that I could put together, make your own beats. I mean, technically it's not your own beat.
Yeah.
But I was enjoying it. I was creating something. And JSS, I went to my best friend, same person I started a company with, and I was like, listen, I make beats. That's not my level, And I showed him the software. He couldn't do it, but it was so easy to me. So why couldn't he do it? Okay, fine. Then in high school, a friend of mine went to Hammer's studio and then came back and said, there's a software called Fruity Loops. It's dope. Like, you have to use it. It was Fruity Loops 3. And the computer lab in our school didn't have sound cards.
Yeah.
So there was no sound coming from the computers. So when I came home for midterms, I harvested my sound card from my desktop.
Oh my God.
And then my speakers and snuck it into school. Mr. Freeman, computer teacher, great guy. He's probably the reason why I'm here right now because he gave us the freedom to explore the computers.
Wow.
Yeah, and I mean, I used to sneak. I'm not in the school today, so I can say it.
Say
I
it.
used to sneak into the computer lab during prep when people are learning, when people are sleeping. I used to sleep in the computer lab.
Hey.
That's how much freedom I had. I was a lab prefect in Form 2, not even Form 3. Form 2 I was lab prefect. So I used to go to the computer lab and I dismantled one computer and then customized my computer from all the other computer bits and pieces from the best computers in the lab. So there was one computer in the lab that had everything. That was mine. So whenever I went to the lab, nobody knew this. I walked straight to that one and I sit there. So all those people are doing their things.
Wow.
So that's why I started to learn how to make beats.
Yeah.
The first beat I made was This Is How We Do. You know that
Yes.
song? And the reason why I remember that was I don't know how to play the actual keyboard.
Yeah.
So Fruity Loops lets you use a computer keyboard. So if you press PPUUIIIYUE, you get that melody, that dun dun dun
Yes.
dun dun. So I did that. And my friends were like, yo, yeah, you know, I'm that guy. Nobody.
Yeah.
But there was one sound that I was looking for. And if you remember Hammer's signature sound was da-doom, da-doom. Da-doom, da-doom, the timpani.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what it was called then. So this friend of mine in school, we used to call him Terrible Nchaka because he used to do that Terrible Nchaka. I can't even remember his actual name today. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. It will come to me. So he went to Hammer's studio and told me that it's called a timpani. And so I looked for the timpani and I found it. I was like, and that changed everything.
Easy peasy.
I fell in love with Fruity Loops, started making beats. My friends would come and listen to my beats. And then I met Shaker.
Yeah.
Lil Shaker. Yeah. And then he even opened my mind even more because as a musician, going to studios, he learned more. So I learned plugins from him and how to, use plugins to make my beats, get different sounds. Because then I thought that Fruity Loops could make every single sound.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about plugins. So I would tweak every stock plugin, every stock sound till I got the sound that was closest to what had been made. Even Richie, his Gimme Blow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he had used any sound plugins. So I found that that's lead in Wasp, in a plugin called Wasp inside Fruity Loops Studio, and I tweaked it to get that sound. And Richie, wherever you are, that beat, we for sit down and dissect up because it redefined music.
Really?
Yeah, it really redefined. A lot of music producers would tell you, Hammer and Richie's Gimme Blow, those were epic moments in Ghanaian music.
Wow.
That really changed a lot of things. Everybody was looking for that sound. How did Richie achieve that sound? Me, I played around with Wasp till I could get it. I didn't know. I found out only quite recently that was a portamento that he was using to do the, pitch bending.
Yeah.
That if I had known that then, I would have been Richie's sidekick by now.
Assistant.
But yeah.
Vice president.
Yeah. I played with Fruity Loops, started making beats. But I've always liked film scores.
Yeah.
Most of the songs that are stuck in my head are some of the movie soundtracks, and I try to remake them. And because of that, most of my music is influenced by film music. Yeah. And that's led to a lot of good things happening to me in music because people want to do documentaries and they want a film soundtrack that is Afro inspired. Yeah, they know where to look.
So talking about, music and beats and all of that, I've been seeing this online.
I knew the segue was coming.
Right? Yeah, the segue has to come. This needs to be talked about. I saw this online where you have a lawsuit against CAF, right? Or basically won a lawsuit against CAF. I would love for you to talk about it. How did that happen? What happened? And where are we at right now with that?
So, it's good I gave that premise. So most of my beats are film inspired.
Yes.
And I try to make film music, but with a lot of Afro elements. So it's African, And I went to my dad's hometown in Ekropong for a funeral. Yeah. So my dad's family is related to some royal people. And so they had this royal fonton frums that they were playing.
Yeah.
And the sound was so majestic. It was so beautiful. I recorded it. And then when I came home, I wanted to replay it, but obviously I recorded it with my phone. Yeah. And not some, world-class microphone. So it was crap. Now I had to find some sounds to recreate this. And luckily Obroni somewhere has come to sample all our sounds. So there's Fonton from a plugin with West African samples.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And luckily, again, my cousin also is into music production. And he had the contacts libraries. He bought it. And so I went and borrowed it and used it to make the soundtrack called Okonfa Noche. I called Okonfa Noche because it sounded like somebody was conjuring the golden school, the whole Fonton Frums and stuff. And that day I almost even died because I was listening to when I finished the beats, I listened to it everywhere. My phone, my earphones, my TV, the sound system in the house, and in my car.
Oh, wow.
Because I have to hear how it sounds everywhere to make sure it sounds good. I was listening to it in my car, and it sort of evoked some kind of, Charlie, I want to go on an adventure.
Hey.
You know, and if you know me, I love cars, I love speed. So I went driving around, listening to the soundtrack, and you hear sounds. Every producer knows this. When you're listening to a sound you've produced, you hear other sounds.
Yes.
Now you think, this would fit here. Okay, this will fit there. So that's what I do. So I was driving around, and some truck just crossed me. Bro, like, it was crazy.
What?
I came, I said, Kofano beg. Like, I'm not using your name. Just came back home. But then, yeah, that became a very dear track to me. I uploaded it as I do with everything. And hopefully somebody sees it, wants it, and pays money for it. And I have a friend called Gary Al Smith, sports guy.
Yeah.
Another top guy. My life, top guys. So Gary says, he calls me one morning. He's like, yo, I know you don't like sports, but I've heard your soundtrack somewhere. He also was a big fan. Him and I went to GIJ, one of the Suits guys.
Okay.
So Gary says he would listen to my music in his car. So he knew Okonfanochi. He knew that soundtrack. So he called me. He's like, I've heard your soundtrack somewhere. And then he asked me to go on Twitter and then check it out. So I went to Twitter. I went to CAF's page. He told me where it was. Lo and behold, here's my soundtrack being used for CAF Awards, Male Footballer of the Year. Here are the nominees. Du-dum, du-dum, du-dum. I'm like, wait. Did they even change it? Nope. Full 30 seconds of it and more, whatever. It was all my beats. Female African Footballer of the Year. Same track. It's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, it's on Facebook. I'm like, but these people, they should have hit me up.
No credits, nothing.
Which credits? Who am I? They don't know me. They don't
care.
They didn't credit me, nothing. So I quoted the tweet, and then I told them, listen, this beat you guys have used belongs to me. And I mean, at least some credit so that I'll get business from this stuff, you know? And nothing, just crickets. They didn't mind me, nothing. Sent them emails, went on their websites, sent messages from there, nothing. So I had a whole campaign, told all my friends, please retweet this tweet so it gets their attention. And eventually we did get their attention because they finally hit me up and said, they've been trying to reach me. Like, really? Okay. So
damage control.
They sent me an email, asked me to send them the message. I sent them the message, told them this is what I'm looking for. So they asked me, what's the way forward? I'm like, remuneration. You've used it, pay me. Yeah. Because now it's too late for you to say you're going to give me credit. I think it's already gone. So pay me. I said, okay, they're going to call me. They asked for my number. And they did try to call me because I said hello. I could hear everybody except they couldn't hear me, supposedly. Yeah. And that was it. The conversation ended. They didn't reach out to me again. They didn't say anything. They claimed they pulled down, but other people had reposted the content. Yeah, so
it's everywhere.
It was everywhere. And then I spoke to a friend of mine whose wife was a lawyer, and she said, let's send him a letter. I said, cool. I said, how much are we asking? I said, how much do you think we should ask him? $1 million. Yes. Let's go for $1 million. So we sent them a letter, cease and desist, pay $1 million. They didn't even mind us. Yeah.
Really?
Bro, like, countless times we tried sending them letters through DHL, whatnot. They just totally ignored us. And I spoke to lawyers if they were going to take up the case. And some would say, listen, we can take up the case, but CAF doesn't have a physical representation in Ghana. Mm-hmm. And so if you sue them and you win, you can't enforce because you have to go to Egypt to enforce. So forget it. I'm like, These people have taken my baby and raped my baby and you want me to let it go? Right. Like, nah, I'm not going to let it go. So I tried getting lawyers, even in Egypt. And one lawyer said, oh yeah, we can take up your case. You pay $100 an hour. Okay. I don't have to check my bank balance because I already knew how much I had in my bank, and $100 an hour I couldn't pay. Yeah. So I was about to let it go, you know. Yeah, it was a good fight. It lasted while it lasted. So let's just let it go. Then I had a show on Joy FM called Geek Squad where we used to talk about tech. And then I had an episode where we're talking about patents, intellectual property and copyright. Yes. So we had a copyright lawyer. She just published a book, Sarah Nokoanku. So she came on the show, we were talking, and she said something. It's like, wait, are you saying that someone's music or something is used by someone for this purpose, they're entitled? She's like, absolutely. I'm like, well, I have a case. So I narrated the story to her, and the woman was like, let's talk after the show. So we did. And she says, what have you been waiting for? I'm like, clearly you, because everyone keeps telling me that I should let it go. She's like, nah, we're going to fight this thing. You're going to get paid, and you're going to get paid really good. I'm like, okay, let's go with this. Like, how much do you have? Like, I don't have money. That's how I was broke, man. I was just a media guy.
Yeah.
You know, media doesn't pay. So
Yeah.
I told her, and she's like, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to have an agreement. I need you to commit. I want to know that you're going to fight to the end. So commit some money. And then when you win, we're going to take a percentage of the win. We're not going to charge you in advance.
Right.
But I was like, cool, I can do that. And so, we started a fight. And boy, she was brutal. Like, she saw everything through to the end, followed through everything. She'd give me updates. And I learned a lot from her during this process, because she'd sit me down, educate me about this, tell me this is what you're entitled to this, that.
Yeah.
We even pursued the case criminally. So much as we're doing civil, we're doing criminal as well, because according to our laws, intellectual property theft is actually a criminal offense. Yeah. So you could be jailed if you steal someone's copyrighted material, right? And then, so one day we went for trial. My first time, I mean, obviously it's the first time for everything. That's my first time standing in the box. Do you swear to tell the truth? Yes. And then CAF's lawyers versus me, and my lawyers versus them, that whole thing. And then we finished that. And the day was supposed to have the judgment. We got there, and the judge didn't call the case. Basically adjourned it, and I was like, "Hey."
And this happened in Ghana, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sweden, Ghana. So the next time we're supposed to go, it's like, okay. Yeah, my lawyers had already, prepared my mind that this is Ghana. Intellectual property is not really a big deal here.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people get it. Their last case, they got this amount. So manage your expectations. Don't think too much. Like, oh well. And friends, people had already told me, Charlie, I think you might not get anything. Why are you even chasing it? Guess what? We get there, and then the judge is like, so he's awarding damages to me, $250,000 in the current Ghana city equivalent. And I was just, like, wait, well, how much did he say? Because it didn't, compute.
Yeah.
$250,000. It's like, okay, calm down. So I went out, my lawyers were like, congratulations.
Composure.
It's like, what? $250,000 for one beat? Yeah, I mean, I've always said beats are worth more. I've written so many posts on social media where I say Ghanaian producers don't really get what they deserve, because you have Timbaland and all those producers out there making millions.
Yes.
But you have producers in Ghana, and somebody can give you 500 Ghana for a beat.
Really?
Oh, you don't know. Ask any producer. Somebody can tell you that Bo beats my man, and then you just because they'll tell you they're hyping you. Especially the big artists. Some of them, but some of them now understand. So then they put your name on the split sheet, so you earn on the royalties.
Okay.
But elsewhere they're making lots and lots of money.
Yes.
But over here, most producers, the money they make from their beats goes back into buying prepaid. I mean,
wow.
Yeah, you can quote me anywhere.
That's crazy.
That's
insane.
Yeah. So after this, we had to execute, which is the most difficult part after every case.
I bet.
Chasing the money.
Yeah.
And then CAF says, you know what? We think that the money is too much, so we are appealing. Yep. So they appealed that the courts should not grant me the money because they're basically going to appeal. And the court dismissed it again. So fingers crossed, this time we'll get our money.
Oh, so they still haven't paid out the money?
No, they haven't. They haven't paid anything. $250,000, no. Cost to my lawyers, no. Even cost during the case. Nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So hopefully CAF needs to pay up. There needs to be a new hashtag, they need to pay up at every single point. I mean, but that's the thing. You can't just use someone's work for commercial purposes.
They claim it wasn't commercial. Yeah, I know. That's how I also felt like, really. So it wasn't commercial.
I think some of these corporations think we're dumb, right?
Indeed.
And I'll be very honest. I see a lot of people and a lot of big companies do it, right? Because sometimes they feel like they have the
Upper hand and the power
yes,
and the muscle.
they have the power, they have the muscle. They can take charge,
Yep.
and so they're able to do some of these. But yeah, hopefully they pay up after.
Hopefully.
There needs to be a whole campaign for it. I'm annoyed hearing that.
Bro, I just wish a lot more people were as annoyed as you were, and then the campaign would be like, hey, pay
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
This is Ghana. Somebody is sitting down somewhere saying, oh, why should I campaign for Spiky to get paid? You
That's
know?
crazy. Nah, you deserve to get paid. You
I
deserve
hope
it.
so.
It's your work. You need to be,
I hope
proud
so.
of it and everything. Okay, so kind of want us, do a quick, check here. When it comes to, based on what we've talked about, when it comes to intellectual property in Ghana, right? And just the creatives, how well do you think creatives are protected when it comes to their work? And what can be done to just save the space?
You know, after my case, I got a lot of calls from a lot of creatives, musicians, producers, some very popular. Like one of them that I even just heard is actually so recent. If you go on that company or that institution's Instagram, it's there.
Really?
Use the person's intellectual property without their permission. And most creatives, I think, do not understand the power they have.
Yes.
You know, if a lot more people sued like I did, nobody would mess with them.
That's right.
You know, a lot
Yeah.
of people really need to take these matters into their hands
Yeah.
and claim what's due them. I'm not the first person to win a case. Rex Omar's won his, Tic Tac has won his.
Yeah.
And there's so many others out there. So people just need to learn
Yes.
and find out what am I worth? What's my stuff worth?
Yeah.
Don't just let it go because, I took a picture and then somebody used the picture. And so it's fine. No, it's not just a picture. You needed to have some intellectual property, like that intellectual capacity,
Yes.
to create that. For it to be good enough for somebody to want to use it. That's why people are paying money for these kinds of things.
Yep.
Let's say if you want to use a picture and you don't have it, it's going to use AI to generate yours. Don't go and steal
I
someone's
agree. Someone's hard
stuff.
work.
Yeah. So I think a lot of creatives out there really need to know the power they have and need to know that nobody, like, it's not, you better find this out.
Yeah.
You know, that Ghanaian
I
mentality
agree.
really needs to go away.
Yes.
And then also we need support for such creatives because it's expensive. Lord knows how much I spent on this case. It's
Yeah.
a lot of money. You know, I don't think the average artist can afford this.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really plan on doing when I win is I'm going to set up a fund for creatives who want to battle intellectual property.
Wow. That's incredible.
Because,
Yeah.
I heard too many stories. And some of
Yeah.
them was just, like you said, incredible. Why would somebody actually do this like that?
Yeah.
Just take someone's stuff. So if we had lawyers who would take cases pro bono, we had more creatives who knew what their stuff was worth and they fought for it.
Yeah.
And we had systems that protected these artists. It would be good.
Sweet. And definitely agree with you on every single one of those. I think eventually we're going to do well when it comes to and I think that fund will go a long way to help a lot of creatives as well. So, yeah. I feel like we can go on and on and on talking
Yep.
about tech, music, everything. I really, really appreciate your genius and sharing your genius with us. The last question I always ask every guest is, if you were to give an advice to a younger person who wants to get to where you're at, what is that one advice you would give to them?
Passion. Passion. You know what you're really passionate about and really chase it. It's essential that you love what you do.
Yeah.
Because you don't get tired when you love what you do. And don't be comfortable. Once you have what you're going to eat, you have small money, you're comfortable. No.
Yeah.
I always take myself out of my comfort zone. Like, I could legit be okay, but I put myself in trouble.
Yeah.
In times where because it causes my brain to think. And yeah, so do that. And always, don't think that you can't do anything. Listen, it may sound cliche, but everything is possible if you really believe that you can do it. Everything is really possible.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank you for
on here,
having
brother. I really, really appreciate it. Guys, this has been a fire of an episode. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. Where can they find you on social media?
At The Real Spiky.
The Real Spiky.
Spiky.
Yes.
The Real Spiky.
The
Everywhere.
Real Spiky. All right.
Yeah.
So The Real Spiky on all social medias. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.